Hi, I'm Harley. So I watched the new Candyman movie today, and I have to say I went into it without any real expectations. I didn't really do any research beforehand. I was just excited that there was a new Candyman movie, and it's a franchise that I generally like. The original movie is brilliant. It really is, and even the second movie that they made. Back in the mid 90s, late 90s was pretty good. The third one not as great. It's a Candyman movie, but it was not spectacular. But this new one that just came out this year, 2021, is absolutely brilliant. Now, before I go any further, I do not intend to have any spoilers, but also there is a chance. So be warned, there could be spoilers. I'm going to try to keep my thoughts pretty vague. Not my thoughts. I'm trying to be specific, but I'm going to try not to hint on the plot points of the movie too much because it is genuinely a well done movie, and I think if you know too much going into it, it may not be as enjoyable. Does that make sense? Yeah. I ask as if you can answer me. But so this one came out in 2021. The original, it came out in 1992. This is a direct sequel to that first movie. So if you've not seen the first movie, I would recommend watching that before you watch this one. I think they do a good job of reintroducing the major plot points in the 2021 version or sequel. But there are things that could be missed. There are subtleties that they bring from the first movie to this movie that tie the movies together really, really well and just make it a really kind of beautifully tragic story that kind of spans the years. The really fun thing about this version is that there is several actors from the original movie that do reprise their roles in this movie, in the directly and indirectly. So, the woman who played Helen in the first movie, she's not actually in this one, but she does her storyline is mentioned. Her voice is reused. In the original movie, she was recording her notes for her thesis that she was doing, and they tie back to that. They replay some of those notes, which I thought was really really cool. That they were able to do that and include her in that story because her story was such a tragic story in and of itself. The whole Candyman story kind of is tragic. It's it's overall just heartbreaking when you in the story itself. So for anyone who doesn't know, I guess I could briefly touch on that, and that's not really a spoiler because the original movie came out 40-ish years, no, 30 years ago. I can't do rough math in my head that fast, but a long time ago. So if you haven't seen it and you don't know the basic story, that's on you, not on me. So the original story is that there was a man in the 1890s of African American descent who was an artist who would go around and paint people for his living. That was how he made his livelihood. And rich people would pay him to paint them. And he was a very good artist. Unfortunately, he fell in love with a Caucasian woman and they had a baby, and that was a no-no. They couldn't do that. So the father of the woman had the artist tortured and killed, which created this ghost story, basically, that was carried down throughout this decades. Supposedly, this murder took place in the Chicago area where the 1992 movie takes place. And what is found out in the 1992 movie by Helen is that Caprini Green was made basically in the same spot where this tragedy took place. And there's been this story told and retold and retold. And she's kind of investigating that sort of indirectly. She's looking into more, from what I remember, and it's been a minute since I've seen the original, so I'm sorry if I'm getting any details wrong. But from what I remember, she's not really looking into the story of Candyman necessarily. She's more looking into the Caprini Green and how it was made as a place for people who were poorer to have low cost housing options. Sort of, it was like a method of cleaning up Chicago, getting the poor a place to live so there was less homeless, but also those people who were living there would have a place to live, but at the cost of their personal safety. It's one of the most crime-driven places in the country, and to the point where they stopped calling the police because the police just won't come. There's not any help for them necessarily. So it's really, it's that, and then this in this version, in the 2021 version, it retouches on that Cabrini Green is now closed, that they're trying to decide what to do with the property, and that all of these people have like moved on because it was such a crime-ridden place. But it touches on Candyman as more than just a ghost story. Instead of being this horrible thing that happened to one person, that created this ghost story that they tell, it's transcended into more of a mythos, into of like a boogeyman story, where it's told to keep children from getting in trouble. It's told to scare would-be criminals into not being criminals, into being better people. It's turned into more than just one person. It's more of a mythos spanning many people, that kind of transcends this one person into just a general, more of a boogeyman. I'm at a loss for words, but he's turned into, instead of being just a villain, more of almost a vigilante, someone you can invoke when you're in trouble, someone who can protect the underserved and weaker people, because they don't have someone else to turn to. They don't have the law to turn to. It's not on their side. Something that happens in this movie too, they touch upon like the racial injustice that's occurring, that's really been brought to light by the Black Lives Movement, and that is really incorporated into this movie, which I think is really cool, because there's, they were trying in a way to do that back in 1992 to show how there was so much injustice in this one part of Chicago, and they've kind of brought that back to the forefront in a different and unique way. And this movie, the 2021 version, without giving away too much of the story, it really is just captivating in how it's showing the stories of many people in this area, not just the original 1890s person, but how this has reoccurred over and over again, kind of in the same location, and it's made more than just a ghost. It's made this, as one of the characters says, a stain in time and space, that is never going to be erased. It's never going to be rectified. It's never going to be brought to justice or made right, because it's just too far gone. It's too abused. It's a bruise that won't heal. And the story has to be told, because that is the only way to move forward, not move past it, but just move on to the next day, and keep your life going. It is tragic, it's heartbreaking, and it was really captivating, and I feel like it was just so beautifully done. On the Blu-ray version that I was able to get, there's some great extra scenes, and like a making of, not like a making of, but there's interviews with the cast and crew, which was a really interesting watch also. So I recommend that if you do end up getting the Blu-ray version, or even, a copy. I don't know if it would be available digitally, but it would definitely be something to look for on YouTube. So I think I've rambled on quite enough, and I hope that I've been clear in my thoughts. I made notes today so that I could keep my thoughts somewhat organized. But I've really enjoyed it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. So if you have any insight into how you feel about it, please let me know. And I look forward to, talking to y'all again really soon. I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving too, because that's coming up real soon too. All right, bye.